The off-season is a time period meant to set NBA teams up for the best possible chance to compete for a title, and signing players in free agency is a big part of that. The problem at times, though, is that the amount teams pay players in this free agency period can come back to haunt them, and when you have one of the worst contracts in the league on your payroll, it really makes things difficult both short and long term. So for today's video, we'll be taking a look at an article published by Bleacher Report where they intended to solve this very issue by concocting a few trades that they believe could realistically move these players with bad contracts and make their teams better as a result. As always, I'll be going through each of their proposals, and I'll be determining whether or not these deals are actually realistic and who they would benefit the most. Additionally, if you want to read the actual article itself, that will be linked in the description of this video. Before we start though, I want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. PrizePicks is the perfect service for all of us basketball fans here because when you're involved, it makes watching games every night so much more fun and engaging. Basically, it's an application that provides you with lines on all kinds of individual player props, such as points, rebounds, assists, and three-pointers made, and you simply have to choose whether you believe they will record over the set amount in the line or under the set amount in the line. Make your selections, wager however much you want to, and if your picks hit, you can win some big money. For some picks I'm looking at making for tonight's slate of games, I'm thinking of going with Jason Tatum to score over 25.5 points, Kyrie Irving to score over 24.5 points, and Joel Embiid to dish out over 4.5 assists. If this sounds at all intriguing to you, then go use the link down in the description of the video to sign up today, and use promo code REFERENCE to receive a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. Once again, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into the topic at hand. The first deal proposed is for the 76ers to offload Tobias Harris and his contract to the Kings, where the Kings get Tobias Harris, Danny Green, and a protected first-round pick, and a second-round pick in exchange for Buddy Hield and Harrison Barnes. So recently, reports came out that the Sacramento Kings were pulling out of trade discussions for Ben Simmons. However, there have also been rumors that they've been internally discussing the possibility of taking in Tobias Harris, and nobody said anything about that no longer being the case, so we could still be in business here. In all seriousness though, the Kings are clearly a flawed basketball team with a core of players that will never really be good enough to bring the Kings out of the depths of the lottery that they've been stuck in for a while. This team has been bad for so long, and something clearly needs to change, and while nobody is saying that bringing in Tobias Harris changes that, the pieces attached to him in this deal could certainly entice them. The 76ers will not be drafting in the lottery this season, so the protection on that first-round pick offered in the deal would convey to them, which is definitely a nice add-on for the Kings. Additionally, even though Danny Green can be frustrating at times, he is a winning player who brings positive impact with his shooting and defensive abilities, and he's a tremendous leader in the locker room, both of which are desperately needed in Sacramento. The 76ers obviously take this deal because both Barnes and Hield are players that love to bomb threes while also making them at an efficient rate, and the more three-point shooters you have around Joel Embiid, the better. I do like this deal a lot for both sides, but I would understand where being a bit hesitant from Sacramento would come from. The next proposed deal is for the Mavs to offload Kristaps Porzingis to the Spurs, and in it the Spurs get Porzingis, Moses Brown, and Josh Green in exchange for Derek White, Lonnie Walker, and Thaddeus Young. I must say, I'm typically much more critical of the trades proposed in these Bleacher Report articles, as you'll all know probably from prior videos I've done like this, but today we're off to a strong 2-for-2 start in the hits column in my book. I will say that the Mavericks have built a top 5 defense this year, which is a huge improvement from the past, and Porzingis does play a big part in that. However, after being a top 10 offense last year, the team ranks just 19th this season, which is pretty alarming seeing as one of the biggest concerns with the Mavericks has been that Luka Doncic has had to do too much on offense, and now they're even worse than they were in this regard. This is why I like the deal for them, because guys like Derek White and Thaddeus Young compete hard on the defensive side of the floor and would do a pretty good job blending into the defensive scheme that coach Jason Kidd has concocted for them, and then on top of that, Lonnie Walker is a nice add-on with potential to be an impact scorer off the bench. Plus, with Jalen Brunson more than likely leaving in free agency this summer due to his contract, adding Derek White helps fill that void at backup point guard. From the Spurs' perspective, there's something about Kristaps Porzingis being coached by Greg Popovich that really entices me, because he's been good not great in Dallas, but Popovich has a long history of getting the best out of players with this much talent, and on paper it could be a match made in heaven. The next proposal they made is to unload John Wall's massive contract to the Boston Celtics in a deal where the Celtics get Wall, Jae'Sean Tate, and a first-round pick in exchange for Romeo Langford, Al Horford, and Josh Richardson. Again, this is another trade that I can definitely see the logic behind, and while it may not be perfect, it does address every concern both sides would potentially have with a swap like this. For starters, the biggest need on the Celtics right now is probably a playmaker that can run the offense, reduce the amount of isolation possessions that the Celtics run, and make the lives of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown easier. John Wall is not perfect by any means, but he is a clear upgrade in this regard over Dennis Schroeder. Obviously though, Wall is coming off of a season in Houston where his numbers were pretty inefficient and empty, and his defense was worrisome, which could make the Celtics, who currently have the 4th best defense in the NBA, hesitant. But that's where the sweeteners come into play. Jae'Sean Tate has been a gem of a find for the Rockets as a versatile forward on both offense and on defense, and would help fill the void left behind by Horford, and that first-round pick is obviously pretty valuable too. For the Rockets, this move is about opening up cap flexibility with the potential to waive Horford with only half of his contract moving forward being guaranteed. Josh Richardson is also having a nice bounce-back season, shooting it well while providing solid perimeter defense, and Langford is still young enough to value his upside as a rebuilding team like the Rockets are. I definitely understand why Celtics fans would be opposed to this deal, but again, they're a team in a situation where they need changes, with limited means of doing so. And finally, the last proposal in the article is to unload Russell Westbrook from the Lakers in a deal where the Lakers get Marcus Morris, Eric Bledsoe, and Serge Ibaka from the Clippers in exchange for Russ, DeAndre Jordan, Trevor Ariza, and some second-round picks. After 3 deals that I could at least somewhat get behind, that streak stops here, because I don't think this really makes sense for quite a few reasons. One thing we learned last night is that Russell Westbrook isn't built to be the third option on a team, as he has been having a pretty poor season trying to fit into this Lakers team playing alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis, but he can still produce at a high level when he's given the green light to play freely. The Clippers may be missing both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard now, but by the time the playoffs come around, there's a good chance they're both back, and then Russ would be back to playing third fiddle again, which isn't a role that he's good in or suited for, especially on a team looking to legitimately contend. I don't like the fit at all for the Clippers, honestly, so that's pretty much where things break down in all likelihood. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the deals that Bleacher Report proposed today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.